We expect a pretty good day, actually, because a lot of the cars on the grid have changed positions. In the previous races, some of the slower cars have recorded very, very good times here. In fact, we saw a lot of spins yesterday as they try to sort the suspensions out in this Stanley Tools Australian Drivers' Championship. Alan, it is a demanding circuit, and I think we're in for a very close dice.
It's a good circuit. I always enjoy racing up here. The people are very friendly. They always put on a very good meeting. It's well organised, but it is the sort of circuit that encourages a lot of cheeky manoeuvres, lots of runoff area and lots of demanding corners, and what that normally brings out is a few cheeky moves, and that's why I think we're going to see a few spins, certainly like we saw yesterday.
Yes. Well, I mean, you've driven a Sierra around here. That must be a handful.
Yeah, but it's good, though. In fact, someone else has driven a Sierra around here. Here's our little mate, Barry Sheen. In fact, it was right opposite where we're standing now that he put it in the wall. Tell me about it. I hope you're watching. I know you'd love me to mention that.
Well, of course, we've got the Australia's Drivers' Championship. That's coming to you live, but also the sports sedans. Now, what are sports sedans? Well, Timmy Wharton has taken time out this week to explain the whole class to you.
To most people, a racing car comes in two shapes. There's the open wheelers like Formula One, and then there's the touring cars. But ask them what a sports sedan is, and you'd probably get a blank look. It seems to be the forgotten class of racing cars. In actual fact, sports sedans are a compromise between the open wheelers and the touring cars.
Basically, a sports sedan is a sedan car, which is based on a racing car chassis. So what you see from the outside are sedan car panels, but underneath all that, there's a racing car chassis, which is all fabricated from the ground up, and as is the suspension, everything is virtually free underneath the skin of the car.
Sports sedans look similar to touring cars with the sedan shape of a road-going car, but on closer inspection, even the body is a lot different.
Yes, it's totally free. The body shape, the steel panels of the original body must remain along the lines of the roof, the windscreen pillars and the door frames, etc. But other than that, we can run all fiberglass mudguards, and of course we're allowed to flare the mudguards up to 4 inches either side, and we're also allowed to run aerodynamic devices, the likes of spoilers along the front and of course the wings on the back.
Because of the lack of restrictions with engines, the sports sedans have a distinct advantage over touring cars.
Well, power-wise, there probably isn't a great deal of difference between us and the touring cars, but speed-wise, with the aerodynamic devices that we have, the fact that we can run bigger tyres and we have more free suspensions and what have you, our cars definitely handle a lot better, and of course on most of the faster circuits we're a good second or 2 seconds a lap quicker than the touring cars.
Sports sedans, once the forgotten class, but making a big move back to the big time.
So Severi there taking the flag. Let's see who got second.
I think Benalla just got it, you know. I think he got it by about a wheel.
Well, excellent race there again. A good win from Mike Severi. Congratulations to him. Well, that's Timmy Wharton's look at sports sedans. Alan will be doing that race live too. I tell you what, they will be really good round here.
They certainly will. You know, there's a lot of horsepower in those cars, and getting out all that to the road on a tight, twisty circuit like this should be very interesting indeed.
All right, Maxie, well, that's about the scene setter for you. We've got the sports sedans. They're big, they're fast, they're noisy, they're wonderful. The weather here is good. The Australia's Drivers' Championship should be a very, very interesting race.
Thanks very much, Daz, and harnessing all that horsepower. It does look for a very big day out there. And of course, while the sports sedans are making their way to the starting grid, we'll take a break and be back for the green light in just a moment.
Well, Maxie, good luck. Little Louie will be a handful today, but congratulations to Collingwood. What a fantastic win it really was, and we happened to see that win up here at Winton yesterday. Alan, I know that you're an Essendon man, but Collingwood, they're finally broken the drought.
Well, I am an Essendon man, but, you know, the better team won on the day, and full congratulations to them. It was a great match.
OK, let's come back to the motor racing now. You're looking at the big sports sedans here, warming the tyres up, warming the suspensions up, warming the gearbox up, and getting the heads together for the Stucky Tyres sports sedan race. 10 laps around this very, very demanding little circuit, just over 2 kilometres in length around. And of course, Stucky Tyres been a long-time supporter of motor racing. You'll find them in Brunswick and Victoria. Here's the grid coming up for you. As you can see, the top runners there, Carling. Let's hope he can get off the line. He has fitted a bigger turbocharger, that car. We'll talk about that. And running through the back markers there that make up the grid in a very, very ferocious 10 laps it should be. AJ.
Yeah, well, it's a great little circuit. It's one of my favourite circuits, actually, this place. As you can see, lots of good run-off area there. If you go in a bit deep and make a bit of a passing manoeuvre and balls it up, so to speak, you've got plenty of room to fly off without damaging the car too badly. And what that does, it actually encourages those sort of manoeuvres, so it makes for good racing.
Well, we talk about Stucky tyres. They have been around for a long time. Of course, they're the Australian distributors for Dunlop race tyres, and they had the first 3 places at Bathurst on Dunlop supplied by Stuckies last week, and the first 7 places at Winton, the runners today, are all on Dunlop supplied by Stucky. So, good result.
Well, and it's nice to see them putting a little bit of money back into the sport in sponsoring this event.
Looking at Bob Tyndall's car coming around, the Alpha of Benalla there. That's a pretty quick motor car too, and they'll be gridding up very, very shortly. Lots of horsepower in these cars on the conditions today, Alan, because it's pretty warm over here. I mean, that should really heat the tyres up pretty quickly.
It's ideal racing conditions, not too hot, and of course no hint of rain around or at all. Absolute ideal for racing.
Bob Jolly and the Commodore is on pole in Graham Whincup in the very pretty Monza, and that's a car that he actually put together himself, the Monza.
Yeah, that's right. He's had the car for... Actually, I've actually driven that car. I had a few laps at Calder, I think, about 9 years ago, so it's no pup. But he's stuck with it and developed it through the years, and he's got it on the front row today. The reason you see them snaking all over the place like that, I think we've probably explained this to you before, is it's scrubbing the tyres. It's actually working the walls of the tyre and trying to generate some heat into the rubber, because obviously rubber is rubber, and the hotter it gets, the stickier it gets, the better the car handles.
Well, particularly here off the grid, because it's only a very short burst down to the first right-hander, so you want to get them to work as quickly as you can.
You certainly do, because here at Winton, as you can see, they're on the grid now. They've got to go like hell. They normally get up into about second gear, then they've got to jump on the brakes for the first right-hander.
That's the Monza on the right hand of your screen. Very powerful car, 6 litres of Chevy there. The same with the Bob Jolly Commodore. Very pretty, well-turned-out motor car. Sitting side by side. I tell you what, they fill up the grid, these big ones. Mike Severi, who has won every round we've televised so far, is back on the second row. He's done that before. Usually gets away well. Getting ready for a start now. Rev starting to build up. This is the Stucky Tyres Sports Sedan race. Racing now underway. The big Monza gets the power down, and so does the Commodore. Jolly's going to win the first corner, no doubt about that. Jolly, look at Severi, gets straight up into second place. Carling in the little yellow. Mazda doing a pretty good job too. He gets inside the Monza, and it's now 1, 2 and 3. That's Jolly first, Severi is second, Keith Carling with that bigger turbocharger, certainly getting the car off the line a lot better today.
Yeah, much bigger improvement than what he's of late, that's for sure. But Severi, as normal, he does a really good start. He's qualified, I think, third, and now he's already up into second, and he does make a habit of doing very good starts, and he's hounding now for the lead.
Bob Jolly in front, 40 years of age, and the Commodore, the 6-litre car, very beautifully turned out. He supplies lawnmower parts. I tell you what, there've been some pretty quick lawnmowers running around in Melbourne, up around the Mondora way. Regular front runner, married with 3 kids and holding pole position and holding the lead. But look at Severi now, gets the white car right underneath it, the Ford Sierra with a Chevy power now. It's going to be a ding-dong between these two, and Carling in the little RX-7 with a bigger turbocharger fitted now and developing something like 600 brake horsepower is in third place. Let's see if he can get into touch with him. The Monza's dropped right off the pace. It's Tyndall now. He's up into 4th place in the other of the Alcare cars.
I think Benalla could be somebody to watch as well, because it's 10 laps. And if he gets that little Alpha wound up, he could start biting away at their lead as well, I think.
The Sierra now, Severi has a little look up on the inside, can't do anything from there, but he's really just putting a lot of pressure on Jolly, trying to force him into an error there. Mike Severi, we didn't know too much about him at the start of this series, but the Sierra RS 6-litre Chevy power plant runs an engineering business at Swan Hill in Victoria. Has won every sports sedan race we've televised, and at the moment running second behind Bob Jolly.
Well, Jolly seems to have just slightly more horsepower out of the corner. Watch them now, they're coming into the start-finish line. He can actually drag out a couple of car lengths initially, but the little Sierra seems to be just that better through the tight twisty section, which they're coming up into the corners now. He'll sit right on his tail all through here, but if the situation remains the same as it is when they go into the back straight, you can see Jolly just pull away a little bit under power.
wonderful sound, these big booming V8s around this Winton circuit, echoing through the hills here. It is a great sound. There's nothing like a V8 that's on full noise. But look at Carling now. He's making a big move on Severi. This is lap 3 of 10. There's no doubt about it, this car now realising its potential, that they've fixed that turbocharger problem.
That's right, and also this circuit is quite hard on tyres, and these cars are hard on tyres. A lot of horsepower. Whoops, getting a little bit sideways coming out. He certainly doesn't want to do that, because that, as it is, Jolly has a bit more straight line speed than him, so if he gets sideways coming out of the corner, that really does give him a big disadvantage. But getting back to the tyres, it is quite hard on tyres in this circuit, because there's a lot of tight, twisty sections. And really, I think with about 3 or 4 laps to go, it could very well be the man that's looked after his tyres the best that will come out in the lead.
Well, Carling doing a great job in the RX-7, because he's in 3rd place, hassling Severi, really moving up. And that's the car you saw stripped down in Tim Wharton's piece prior to this race. Very beautifully prepared car, lots and lots of thoughts gone into it. And he has had rotten luck, because he just couldn't get it off the line in the other 2 rounds that we've been telecasting. But he's fixed that problem, and the car is angry now. It's like a little angry ant snapping at the heels of Sierra. Bob Tingle doing a good job back in 4th place.
Yeah, well, Severi really wants to try and get past Jolly, because he's driving both defensively and offensively at the moment. He's trying to get past Jolly, but he's also trying to keep Carling out of the way. So it's hang on, a bit wide there. He's got a better chance now, I suppose, he's ever been.
Well, Carling's only a 2-litre car, of course, the turbocharged. That's a Nissan power plant. He's a building contractor at Dubbo in New South Wales. Has been around this class for a long time. It's the fastest RX-7 in the nation. It's just been a larger turbocharged, we said, but it's now capable of developing 600 horsepower, and he really is now right on the exhaust pipe of Severi.
Yeah, that's right. This is going to develop into a very interesting race, because as I say, in about 4 laps or 5 laps from now, their tyres will be getting quite warm, quite hot, and they'll be going off slightly, so it'll be the guy that can actually keep his tyres in the best nick that will definitely benefit if they stay this close.
Well, good close racing here in the Stucky Tyre Sport Sedans. 10-lap race, just over 2 kilometres around this circuit. Lots of horsepower to put down, and they've got to be very precise, Alan. You can't really make a slip anywhere here, even though the runoff area is there, the next to through. Look at Carling now on Severi.
Yeah, getting a little sideways coming out of that corner. So if you get on the power a little bit too soon, the back comes out, that overheats the tyres, which won't put him in good stead for the future, because his rear tyres will be overheating. But it also, by putting the car sideways, you'll lose that momentum for a split second and spoils your run up the straight.
Well, Carling's going to have a go. I reckon it's at the end of this straight. He seems to be able to close right up. He's done it again on Severi there. If he's going to have a go, I reckon he'll try and slip through there in the next lap or so if he can get close enough. He was close enough then, but just couldn't get the line. But let's not forget Bob Jolly out in front in the Commodore. Gee, he's doing a great job. He's took pole with the best practice time, and he's led from the time the green light flashed. Car off way over in the background, dust coming up. None of our leaders, though. One of the back markers is off the track. There we are, car 50.
I see that Graham Wincup's dropped back. He's now in 5th place. So he was the man that started on pole position. So whether his tyres are going off or he's got mechanical problems, I don't know.
Severi in the SO Sierra now, running second to Bob Jolly in the Commodore. Then we've got Keith Carling. Now watch him at the end of this straight. If he can get close enough, I don't know if he is close enough this time. He's trying desperately through this little tight right end of the closing gap. No, he's not close enough this time. He's dropped off the pace. Oh, goes very wide. And I really believe he's going to have a go. And bits of rubber actually hit the commentary window there as he came past. We're very close to the action here. So Severi can't really do much about Jolly at the moment.
Well, they're just coming up to lap somebody now, so this could be interesting. Oh, no, they're all around in ours. In fact, Jolly made the best of that, I think. Yeah, see how he gained about 3 or 4 car lengths because of that? Yeah.
Carling now is through too in the yellow RX-7 now. He's a bit closer to Severi now, but I can't see Jolly at the moment getting into too much trouble. He's done a very, very good job up on the top end of the track now, weaving his way through the back markers, taking a precise line, and whilst every hole's that line, it's going to be the widest Commodore in the world.
Well, that's right, and he's also got the added advantage. He's definitely got better torque down low, which just gives him that little advantage coming out of the corners. So if they do creep up on him a bit, he's got the added advantage of knowing that he can pull away in this section here, for instance, which is up to the start-finish line. He has got that extra grunt to get him up there.
Still a very close dice for second and third. Severi, Mike Severi in the White Sierra, the SO Sierra, doing the best he can, and Keith Carling in the little RX-7, snapping at his heels, trying desperately to do something. A Toledo car. As I said, been around for a long time and a very, very experienced driver.
Yeah, I think we're going to have Benalla up there. You can just see him now. He's on the right-hand side of your screen. He's slowly chopping away at these guys. They're driving a little bit defensively. They are holding each other a little bit because, you know, while you're trying to keep a bloke at bay, you're not concentrating on the best lines and the fastest lines. And I think they could be slowing each other up a bit by doing this. And you'll notice that Benalla, here he is now in the yellow car, he will be right on them within about a lap or two.
Yeah, the yellow Alpha, you can see it there in behind Carling. He's taken Tyndall, the 4th spot. Whether he's got enough time as far as laps go, there it is, coming out. He's closing up on Carling all the time. Car 52, that's the Alfa Romeo. And Dominic Benalla, 2-litre turbocharged car, 500 plus horsepower. He's the fast Italian charger who always provides plenty of action. Had a gearbox problem down at Sandown, which kept him out of the major placing, but really pushing very hard now. Good drive from him. Had to work his way through the pack to get some clear track. 1 lap to go, so he's not going to have enough time, I wouldn't think, but he might even have a go at taking Carling. The Alfa Romeo sitting pretty well on the track, Alan. It really is handling very well, isn't it?
Yeah, and he really gets into it too. He tries at 11 tenths all the time, and he'll be that way right to the very end.
Well, it's Bob Jolly up in front, making their run to the flag. It's still Severi in second place. Up they come onto the main straight again. Bob Jolly unwinds, Severi having a go. So on the final lap now. Carling has a big spin going off the straight. Benalla gets through okay. Oh, Carling, that's where I said he'd have a go, but he just got the wrong line and really lost the car here. So Carling now loses his spot after a good drive with a mistake at the end of the straight. The only place he really was going to have a go. Bob Jolly. Severi now is in second. Well, that was bad luck for Carling.
Yeah, well, he stuck his nose in. There he is. He just stuck it. He's off again, actually. He's, yeah. Now, I mean, I can only assume that his tyres have well and truly gone off, but still, or he may be getting a little tired in himself, or he may be dropping a bit of oil over the rear tyres from some leak, but it's certainly extraordinary to have 2 spins in half a lap.
Well, 2 spins, bad luck for Carling, but it's Bob Jolly all the way, heading onto the main straight now to take the checkered flag. He'll win this Stucky Tyres Challenge Cup for Sports Sedans. Mike Severi, after 2 fine wins, has finally had his colours lowered by the Commodore, and Dominic Benalla in the Alpha takes 3rd spot with a good drive after pressuring Carling for a number of laps.
It's been a good week for Commodores one way and another, hasn't it?
The General is smiling.
That was a good race. He drove very quick, but also defensively. He covered the track really well, drove very cleanly, didn't let the pressure that Severi was quite obviously putting on him worry him, and drove very consistently.
So, final placings for you in the Stucky Tyres Sports Sedan Cup. Bob Jolly, Mike Severi, Dominic Benalla and Bob Tyndall take out the top 4. We'll be back shortly.
Shine me down, if I said too much.
Drivers' Championship are preparing themselves for round number 7 in the series, and we'll have that race for you shortly. But in the meantime, let's talk football on a grand final scale. Louis might have been a significant factor because Essendon actually, they seem to be going the man more than Collingwood, and of course that was the key, wasn't it?
Well, you find when a blue like that happens that one side goes ahead, the other one goes back, and that's what happened yesterday. Collingwood went on with the job, and of course the rest is history. We're premiers, and we're laughing all the way to the bank.
Excuse me, Louis, I am going to have some trouble with you today. I really am. OK, coming up, the all-important round in the Australian Drivers' Championship, and our special guest on the day's show will be Wayne Grady. We'll be back after the break. Excuse me. What's happening out there?
Thank you, Maxie. Well, plenty's happening at the moment. We've got the cars on the grid for round 7 of the Stanley Tools Australian Drivers' Championship. And very exciting a round this is going to be. The times have been extremely close in practice, but with me at the moment is Mark Scaife, who has had to withdraw the car. Mark, well, you've been going so well in this series. Rotten luck today.
Yeah, it's obviously very disappointing, Dazza, because we put a lot of effort in, and really on a safety ground we've had to put the car away for the weekend.
Well, we'll talk to you a little bit about that later on, and during the race. It's nice to have your company in the commentary box. It would have been much better to have you on the circuit. But as you can see, the cars now all gridded up. Alan Jones is on the grid. Alan?
Thanks very much, Daz. Well, I'm down here with Simon Kane, who's on his 5th pole position out of 7 outings. That's not a bad result so far.
I've learned to go quick in qualifying, just got to reproduce it in the race now.
Simon, you were quickest this morning in race trim. That's obviously a good indication.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with the car this weekend. We made a few changes since the last round, and it's really improved a lot.
OK, well, best of luck to you. All right, while I'm down here, Daz, I'll just come over and have a quick word with Mark McLaughlin on the front row next to Simon. A big improvement over the Sierra, Mark.
Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. It's a good feeling to be up here at the front.
And you haven't had a great deal of time in the car, have you?
No, we've only had a Friday and 1 day of testing previously, so all things considered, we're very happy.
OK, well, best of luck to you. All right, Daz, back to you in the commentary box.
Thanks, AJ. Well, there you are. The young Chargers are ready to go. They are the future of Australian motor racing driving. If we're going to get someone to Europe, it's going to be out of this class. We'll be back shortly with all the action. As you look at round 7 of the Australian Drivers' Championship, the Stanley Tools Championship, the cars on the warm-up grid now. Going around now, the Siddle track, and you can see warming up the tyres and suspension. It's a very, very warm day here, Alan Jones. Let's go through the point standings before I go to Alan. Simon Kane on 35 points, Mark Pools on 33, Mark Scaife not running today on 23, Drew Price on 21, John Briggs on 15, Neil Crompton also not starting on 12. Good shot out of the Clipsal car here. This is the Australian-built car by the TAFE College over in South Australia. Done a wonderful job. That's a nice angle, Alan.
It's a terrific shot, isn't it? I believe that they've been off doing a bit of testing at Melalla too last week, and they've made a few more improvements to this car. So obviously looking for another good result.
And this was the winning car, of course, down at Sandown, which really, he did put in a great drive. Here's the grid for you. Simon Kane on pole. Mark McLaughlin, good drive to get into second place on the front row. Mark Scaife not starting, had to withdraw after the warm-up lap. Drew Price, Mark Poole. That's the driver you're looking at now. Chris Hocking then Mark Poole. There's a few marks in this race. Mark Potter. So plenty of starters here, and all quality cars.
Yes, you can see them now. They're just on the warm-up lap, coming up towards the start-finish line. You can see a little bit of acceleration then from Simon Kane. That's to get the rear tyres a little bit more heat into them, just to get any muck off them that might have gathered on that warm-up lap. And now they'll just bunch up on the grid and wait for the old green light to come on. It'll be interesting stuff down into the right-hander.
We're talking to Freddie Gibson and Mark Scaife during this race. Unfortunately, we're drawing the car. Lights are up now. Watch for the green light off the line. It's the SPA car, which is an identical type of car that Mark Scaife had to withdraw this morning because of suspension problems. And Simon Kane in the very pretty little car. Kane wins the start. He gets away very, very well. Powers down into the first corner. Simon Kane gets around very, very well. McLaughlin tucks in underneath the wing. Now tries to get a little bit better position as they go up into the back end of the circuit. Poole is in third place and looking pretty good at the moment. So a good start from Simon Kane.
Yeah, Mark McLaughlin did the right thing too, because the problem with this circuit, you haven't got very long from the start down to the first right-hander. And if you're not very careful, Drew Price having a major go in there. Yeah, a little bit over exuberance.
Oh, bad luck for Drew Price, because he threw out a challenge from fourth place. He's back on the track, gets over the ripple strip, but as he tucked it in there, just losing traction, gets on the loose stuff and loses. Now, Simon Kane out in front, the man who is leading the series at the moment, Mark McLaughlin in the Thalgo car, doing a very, very good job in second. That's the best that they've been for some time in the series, but Kane getting a little buffer now.
Yes, he's opened up about 3 or 4 car lengths, which is not a bad effort on the first lap. As I was saying, going down into this right-hand corner here, it's so close to the start that the guy that's on the front row of the grid, if he's not very careful, the guy that's on the second row can get him. Good shots here from our in-car camera.
Mark McLaughlin, you're riding with him at the moment. That's Kane you can see up in front. You can see there's not very much movement in the steering wheels at all. These cars going down through the gearbox now, puts the boot back into it, closes a little on Kane, who gets a little sideways in front of him. Now they start to ease around, and he's trying to pick him up. Watch the apex of the corner. This is really what it's all about, just keeping neat and tidy, nice and precise all the way.
Yes, he's caught up to him a little bit on that. Now we've got the similar shot of Mark and looking back towards him. and you can see the sort of buffeting that these guys get through the wind. He's caught up a little bit on Simon through this section.
So, Mark McLaughlin in the Thalgo cosmetic car, and it's quite a story, this, you know. The company did a little bit of research and found out that most women between 18 and 35 really like to get involved with open-wheel racing cars. They thought it was a good idea to be able to market a product which is originally a French cosmetic company. They've come out to Australia, 2 cars, a big investment, and also sponsoring the final round. So it's a big commitment from the sponsor.
It certainly is, but as you said, Daz, they went into it fairly thoroughly, and they discovered that most females between the ages that you just mentioned actually prefer open-wheeler racing than touring car racing. So they've done their homework, and it seems to be working quite well for them.
So that's Mark McLaughlin running second. Mark Poole is in 3rd place, and he's driving the Shrike car, the winner at Sandown, and a little bit off the pace here at the moment. He had a lot of spins yesterday, I'm told. I know we saw a couple of late in the afternoon, but the suspension wasn't quite to his liking, and he was trying so hard in the back part of the circuit, lost the car a number of times. So maybe that's knocked his confidence off. Maybe they haven't been able to fix that problem.
Actually, I was talking to Mark McLaughlin. He's driven both the Rolt R21 and the SPA, and he said the SPA is better around here because it's a shorter wheelbase car, and being such a tight, twisty circuit, the shorter wheelbase allows him to throw it around a lot better than the slightly longer wheelbase Rolt.
Simon Kane. We might bring in Mark Scaife at the moment. Mark, your car, the SPA, obviously 2 bigger problems to start today, which is a shame. And you were telling me that this was your circuit because it's such a short wheelbase car.
Yeah, I think the SPA car around here, Dazza, is a pretty good car. We went fairly well here last time, and the car that Mark's driving there now is obviously going very well too.
Talk us through a lap as far as what gear you're in, the sort of speeds that Simon Kane is doing at the moment.
Well, that's Mark McLaughlin there inside the car there now. You can see him be back to 3rd gear for the end of for turn 1. Now to turn 2, still 3rd gear out of there, and up to 4th gear there now. Shouldn't really hold 4th. He's went to 5th, all the way around the sweeper. This is a very fast section of the circuit. And now coming down to a slower, tight right-hander just now. Back to 2nd gear for here. Simon just in front of him. Very easy to get too sideways coming out of these corners and put too much power down. Very slow, but 2nd gear. Mark working pretty hard on the car there, going very well. Coming onto the straight, very hard corner this, and very easy to be too sideways, but must come on there very fast. Up to 3rd, 4th and 5th. Back to 4th gear for the end of the straight there.
Okay, so that's a lap with Mark McLaughlin in the SPA car, courtesy of Mark Scaife. Well, Mark, just before you do go, you must be very disappointed because the car's been so fast.
Yeah, the car's been very good, but what we've really done, Darryl, is that the tub, the monocoque, is an aluminium construction, and it's delaminated throughout the week. And really on a safety ground, we've had to put the car away.
So what we're saying now, you've got to bring a new tub out for Adelaide, which could cost something around 60,000 Australian dollars.
Yeah, that'll cost pretty much that sort of money, and we're really trying to get that done for Adelaide. Obviously, it's a very big race for us. So we're in the throes of doing that.
All right, and before you go, congratulations on your Bathurst effort, and it was fastest lap record at Bathurst last weekend in the Nissan.
Yeah, thanks, mate. The car was very good.
Alan Jones, who was hopefully going to get a lap record, but once again, there was that funny steam came out of your car.
Yeah, it does that when it gets too hot. It's funny, but certainly a sizzling lap, that was for sure. 15.8 or whatever it was by the Nissan.
Looking down at the Shrike, Mark Poole. Shots from him a little higher up near the roll bar, looking down into the car. Watch the apex of the corners. It's a very, very good shot for you here, as you can actually see as they clip the apex, set themselves out for the next one, looking back. There's a little camera sitting up behind his head. It's a great angle. So as we ride with Mark Poole, we'll take a break and we'll be back shortly, and this is the Sandy Poole Drivers' Championship.
At your local Home Saver stores right now, they've got extra bargains.
The race also leading the series from Mark McLaughlin, Mark Poole, Hocking and Cutchy are the top 5 places for you. Well, Simon Kane doing it very nicely. Alan Jones looking at some radar speeds here on the back straight 182 kilometres per hour, on the short front straight 184, so he's not really hanging about.
No, and he's driving very smoothly too, because the secret with these motor cars really is to drive as smoothly as you possibly can, because they don't really like going up on bumps or curbs or anything. In like a touring car, you can sort of throw them around a bit. These cars, you have to drive them very on line, very smoothly, and he's certainly doing that.
10 laps gone of 27. McLaughlin's dropped off a little off the pace. Kane, again, as Alan has said, has been so precise with this motor car, really doing a fine job. He's a wonderful young talent, this fellow, and he is dedicated to getting over to Europe and to drive Formula One, and that's pretty important stuff. I mean, he's doing it the right way in a class of car that it allows him at least to be noticed for his open-wheel talents.
Well, that's the whole idea of this formula, Daz. That was why it was invented. It was to bring on, hopefully, some young Australian drivers and to give them the sort of encouragement and training that's needed in open-wheeler cars so they can go overseas and hopefully have a go at Formula 3000 or even Formula One.
Also with us today is the Nissan team boss, Freddie Gibson. Freddie, I know you've had a lot to do with getting Mark Scaife's SPA car out from England. People at home probably don't realise the investment that's tied up in this sort of racing.
Oh, Daryl's a fair bit of investment there. You're looking at $200,000 with a motor car, and like today, drawing the car because the problems makes it pretty hard. But like if you lose that much in one day, it's costing plenty to get a new tub out from England. It's going to cost about £60,000.
Well, I know that you've been a great instigator of this class, even though you run the Australian champion touring car team. This means a lot to you to see these young fellows in these sort of cars.
Well, it's racing cars, Daryl, and that's what we're all about. Like, I'm an old race car driver, I suppose, and like we like to see cars with no mudguards on go around. Hopefully the class in Australia is going to be sort of very successful.
Thanks, Freddie, and it's a shame that you're not out today, but I know you'll be back bigger and brighter and faster at Adelaide. Right, looking at the Falco car, and really nicely turned out, this team. They're running two cars. Now, you've just heard from Freddie Gibson, $250,000 investment. Now, two cars, two drivers, two sets of everything. That's a big commitment, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is, Daz, and it's terrific that people like Thalgo are getting behind the formula and supporting it in the manner that they are, and that's what we want to see. We want to see more competitors. We want to see more young Australians having a go in open wheelers, and then hopefully we'll come across another David Brabham or such.
The most exciting news we've heard since coming to Winton about this class of car is that for Adelaide, both Kevin McGee and Wayne Gardner could be running.
Yeah, that's terrific. It's going to give the formula a real boost in the arm, and it's certainly a big thing for Kevin McGee to have an open-wheeler debut at Adelaide. You know, it's not a very forgiving circuit, but he's going to have a little bit of time to do some practice beforehand, so he and Wayne Gardner in the cars will be terrific to see.
Well, they're hoping to put Wayne Gardner in the other strike, the one that Mark Poole is driving. That car there, the sister car to that, Wayne Gardner will run at Adelaide if everything goes well, and we're told it's very, very close. And of course, Kevin McGee will be driving the Elfin, a car we haven't seen much of in the series, but I believe is very competitive. Looking back into Mark Poole's helmet, he blasts along at something like 184 kilometres an hour down the back straight. So these cars are very, very quick.
Yeah, it gives you an idea there, Daz, just how bumpy. I mean, in these cars, you can feel every little bump and groove in the circuit, and you feel the bumps, you feel the, you can see there his hands working away, and also the aerodynamics. You get quite a bit of buffeting around that helmet area there when you get into the straight, get up to any sort of speed. So your head gets buffeted around, as well as the G-forces, you get the aerodynamic forces on you as well. And as you can see by the way he's working, it's you have to work the car all the way around.
Yeah, riding with the winner at Sandown in Melbourne, a very pretty little car, and as I said, put together by the TAFE College in South Australia, which continues a great, well, tradition of building racing cars in that state. Of course, the Elfin cars we talked about have come out of there. Bernd Schuper, the driver, Gary Cooper, the late and great Cooper car company that turned out so many competitive Elfins that competed for so many years on racetracks here, and now the Clipsal is the latest product from South Australia.
Well, he's right up on McLaughlin too, as you can see. He's been slowly chipping away there, and now he's right on him. It's a lot longer in the wheelbase, the Shrike, than the SPA that's in front of him, and therefore perhaps, if we're going to be really critical, perhaps not well suited to this circuit as a short wheelbase car, but nevertheless he has chipped away, and now he's right on his tail.
He's certainly been the big improver of the series since we started our telecast. This car has become a more competitive car right throughout, and he's driving it with a lot of aggression, moving up into third spot now, challenging McLaughlin, who is up in front of him. the SPA, you can see that, the shorter wheelbase car that Alan Jones just mentioned. This is the Australian-built Shrike, the car that Wayne Gardner will drive the system on. Mark Scape, how hard would it be for Wayne Gardner and Kevin McGee to jump into one of these cars with maybe 4 or 5 days testing and then getting into the Adelaide Grand Prix circuit?
Well, as Alan commented, I think the Adelaide Grand Prix circuit's not very forgiving, and for those two guys to get in those cars without driving them very much would be a very difficult accomplishment.
It'll certainly be a great experience for them and great publicity for the class.
Yeah, I think it'd be great for those two guys to have a run. I think Wayne Gardner's had a few drives before, and they say he drives pretty good.
Okay. And what's it like sitting up here in the commentary box and watching something that you should be part of and perhaps even leading?
Oh, it's certainly very difficult, but I think the race now is becoming pretty good for second spot there. Mark Poole's obviously pretty aggressive. He's giving you a bad time.
Okay, Mark McLaughlin still in second there. You can see Mark Poole closing right up on the Shrike. There he goes through too, and big move under brakes then, just powered past McLaughlin. Oh, see you later. I think McLaughlin's got some problems.
I think Marcus looks to be slowing down a bit, but apart from that, he did go a bit wide. It's almost like if he left his braking just a little late and slid out a bit wide, which allowed Mark Poole to take full advantage. Actually, here we're going to get a bird's eye view of the whole deal. Look, yes, he just went in too deep, left his braking a little bit too late, slid wide, and that gave Poole the opportunity just to sneak in on the inside of him.
Okay, so now Mark Poole and the Clipsal into second place. Can he eat away at Simon Kane's lead? Championship, it's Kane, Poole, McLaughlin, Hocking and Blanche now into the top 5. Kane and Poole, 6 seconds the difference between first and second.
Yeah, Simon looks to be doing it fairly easy. He's driving very smoothly. He's not hanging the back out or anything like that, whereas Mark Poole's car does seem to be oversteering out the slower corners. So I've been watching it for a couple of laps, and out of the second gear corners, he definitely does seem to be getting quite a bit of wheel spin and oversteer.
One of the things, Alan, we should mention that this class of car is on a restricted tyre. In other words, they're all running exactly the same tyres, and not unlike other racing cars, as the race progresses, the tyres start to go off a little. In this, the tyres basically stay the same. If not, they probably improve a little.
Well, this is one of the reasons I like open-wheeler racing, because they are absolutely designed to do a job, and the driver should be able to get in the car and drive it flat chat from go to woe. Whereas in a touring car, you've got to look after brakes, you've got to look after tyres, you've got to drive very much with that in mind. Whereas with these cars, the driver really doesn't have to worry about that side of it so much. All he has to do is put his bum in it and go, and it's 10/10 motor racing. In this case, it's not, of course, because Simon can afford to take it a little easy. But if he did have some pressure behind him, they can actually really race the cars 10/10 from the start to the finish.
Another guy, of course, that's had a fair bearing on the development of these cars is Larry Perkins. Again, third place at Bathurst in the Commodore last weekend. With a great drive, but Perkins, a great engineer in Australia, and had a run in Formula One some years ago.
Yes, he did. He raced a BRM, he raced a Brabham, and I think he raced a thing called a Talon, which was built by Chris Amon. So Larry has competed in quite a few Formula One races, and he does a very good job preparing the engines for these cars.
Which are, of course, Holden Commodore engines.
That's correct.
So Simon Kane out in front with an engine prepared by the Perkins Engineering Group. Larry Perkins, I think the whole of Australia was riding with him last week. He's one of the great tries in touring cars, but this is a great try here too. Mark Poole in the Shrike, looking down off the roll bar angle into the car for you.
Mark's ambitions are fairly good. He only really wants to win the championship this year and then go on and win Bathurst, race at Le Mans and succeed in Formula One.
Not a problem.
No.
If you're going to have ambitions, you may as well have the best ones, and of course that's young Mark. He was the South Australian Formula V State Drivers Champion. That was back in 1981. Cam's Driver of the Year. He competed in England for 2 years as a works driver for Quest and Chevron sports cars, with many wins there. Drove with John Smith and the Team Toyota Supra in the Tui's 1000. So, I mean, he has had a fair few good miles of experience under his belt.
Yes, he has. We had a good shot just then, Daz, of the back coming out when he's exiting the slower corners. But he certainly does drive this Shrike. He really does get the best out of it. It's great to see, obviously, a young Australian guy in a totally Australian car, mixing it with the very best of them. And I wish him all the very best of luck.
So Mark Poole in the locally built Shrike, doing everything he can. Coming up to lap the second of the Thalgo cars, driven by Tony Blanche. New into the series and gaining experience with every race, but off the pace at the moment here at Winton. But this man certainly on the pace. He's 6 seconds roughly behind Simon Kane. If he can get him into sight, it might make a difference.
Well, it often does sometimes. If you can just get that guy that's in front of you, if you can just get him in your sights, it just gives you that little extra boost to, you know, to find a few tenths every lap to catch up to him. It's a good incentive when you can see them.
Well, as you just saw Simon Kane exiting this corner as Mark Poole is coming in, so we should actually get a glimpse of him. He is probably about 200 metres on the circuit in front of him, going down the main straight now, and Mark Poole is just about to come onto the straight. So a good 6 seconds. If anything, Kane's probably grabbed a bit more of an advantage on that time. You're still riding now with Kane the leader. Very dedicated family, this to motor racing. His father actually cashed in a life assurance policy to make sure that he could fund his son's racing, and I believe all of that was done without the knowledge of Mum.
No, I'm afraid we gave him up. When he got home, Mum said, "Hey, what's all this I hear about you cashing in the life insurance policy?" So we've really given him up there.
Actually, you could get the nickname Sheriff. You've given Barry Sheen up today, and of course Simon Kane's father. You've got a fair record of this.
Yeah, thanks, Daz.
But Simon Kane, ambitions to get over to Europe, as we said. He wants desperately to drive in Formula One. He's gone about his motor racing in a very professional way. He and Mark Scaife were having a marvellous duel at the rounds we've televised so far, having a little trouble getting off the line in the other rounds and had to play catch-ups a little bit to Mark Scaife. But certainly doing it right this time. Takes pole, takes the lead from the light and building all the time and driving a very correct race.
And during the week, Simon is in the sound department with the 60 Minutes team, I believe.
Yes, part of the Channel 9 organisation. He's a sound recorder for 60 Minutes and putting together stories for that great show. So a pretty busy boy. If he's not listening to sound, he's certainly creating some.
And obviously has a bit of patience as well if he's in sound.
I think about that. Simon down the main straight again. On his final lap. So it's been a fantastic drive, really, from Simon Kane. He really has done it all right. He got a lot of pressure from Mark McLaughlin in the early laps, and he just held it all together and kept his tidy lines. And, of course, he made then McLaughlin had to make the move and got a little bit slippery.
Whoops, you just saw the back slide out then. I don't know whether he probably just let it go out a little bit wide, got into what they call the marbles, which is the pieces of rubber that come off the tyres as the race progresses, and then they build up a shoulder on the outside, and if you slide wide and get into that, which we call the marbles, it's very, very slippery indeed. Looks like that's what he did.
Yeah, once you get on that slippery stuff, that big rubber behind you really starts to move around. So 12 seconds ahead of Poole as he takes the flag, wins round 7 of the Stanley Tools Australia's Drivers' Championship. A fine win, building on his point score for this championship now. Waiting for Mark Poole to come round in the strike. He'll take second spot. He flashes past now. 12 seconds the difference after 27 laps. Waiting for third place, which was Mark McLaughlin in the Thalgo car, and I think they'd be pretty happy with that result. Looking at Mark Poole now as he tries to let a little air into the helmet because it is very warm here at Winton this afternoon. Fantastic conditions for racing. There's the field now go under the checkered flag. So a pretty good drive from Simon Kane, certainly building on his series.
Yes, it's by no means over though. Poole, by finishing in second spot, has still kept his hopes alive for the championship. But no, Simon drove very clean, very smooth, and of course that's exactly what you have to do in these cars.
All right, let's recap the final positions in the Stanley Tools Australian Drivers' Championship. Simon Kane takes the #1 spot from Mark Poole and Mark McLaughlin. Good drives all around there. Max Walker, back to you in Melbourne.
Chip has been run and won by Simon Kane, so let's head back to Winton for the official presentations. Take us away, Daz.
Thanks very much, Max. Well, it's been a great turnout here at Winton Racetrack again. Fantastic to be here because of the great help that we get. And there's a wonderful feeling here, as Alan Jones has said. It's what motor racing is all about. And we've seen another fine drive from Simon Kane, Mark Poole and Mark McLaughlin to take first, second and third in this Stanley Tools Australian Drivers' Championship. Well, with me today is Andrew Syme, and Andrew is the marketing manager for Stanley Tools. Have supported this championship, and believe you me, it's so important, because if we're going to develop a Grand Prix driver from Australia to get back into the winner's circle, it's going to come from this sort of racing. So we're excited about it. Nine's World Sports to be part of it, and I know Stanley Tools are also. So Andrew, if you'd like to get the hardware going, we'll bring up our competitors. First of all, Mark McLaughlin for his fine third place.
Sure. I'd just like to thank Stanley Tools for supporting the ADC Championship this year, and of course to my sponsor Thalgo. It's been a long while between drinks for me, and it's great to be up here for both Thalgo and for Roll Australia, our team. Thank you.
Well done, Mark McLaughlin, on his fine third place. Now, the fellow who won down in Melbourne, driving an Australian-built car by the TAFE College over in South Australia. We're very proud of it too, the Strike car. Of course, Mark Poole taking a fighting second today.
Yes, I'd also like to thank Stanley Tools, Channel 9. I'd like to congratulate Simon, did a very good job today. I'd like to thank very much my sponsors, SKF and Clipsal. I'd also like to thank all the boys from TAFE that done a marvellous job with the Strikes. Brilliant car. Thank you.
Okay, and the man, of course, who took the race today has had a little trouble getting off the line in the last couple of rounds in his car, but Simon Kane, a very determined young driver and really faultless today, winning by around 12 seconds in a wonderful drive to take round 7.
Yeah, I managed to get off the start line this time, which pleased the pit crew a lot. I'd just like to thank Umbraco and Peter Jackson, Flag, and of course Stanley for sponsoring the event, which is really starting to look good as far as next year goes too. Thanks a lot.
Okay, our commiserations, of course, to Mark Scaife. Couldn't start today, troubles with the car, but I believe $60,000 will cure that, and it'll be back in action for South Australia. Of course, the final round of the Adelaide Grand Prix. We're looking forward to that. That wraps up the formalities here. Thanks again to Stanley Tools. Congratulations to all the young drivers. It really has been a marvellous morning's motor racing. Maxie?
Thanks very much, Darryl, and also Alan out there at celebrations, no doubt about it. Simon Kane, of course, winning round 7. So let's now have a look at the points table after round 7. Next one, of course, in Adelaide. Simon Kane, of course, on top there. Mark Poole, Mark Scaife didn't appear on the track today. Price, Briggs and Crompton also didn't appear on 12 points. And while on the subject of motor racing, Wide World of Sports will be at Eastern Creek in Sydney on Saturday, November 10th for the Nissan Sydney 500. Top class field will be in attendance for what should be an historic race. From the racetrack to the sports desk, it's time for another sporting up.